The Greater Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wiegand, and myself, Kathleen Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus, the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers from miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to 4-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
To do here tonight, we're going to do introductions, and we're going to start over here, and we want to know your name and where you're from, if you're from Newton or Taos or Clark's Mills or wherever. And we're going to start, we go all the way around, and I think we'll get to the back row right away too. So from Marie to go back, and then come again, and then back up here.
Okay.
And we're going to break at 7:30 like normal, and are you ready, Jerry?
Yes, and
Okay.
we'll have regulations or rules after we get done with this, okay?
I'm Charlie Bauer from Newton.
Thank you.
I am Scott Pankratz from Valders.
Very good, thank you.
Tom Hogan from Osmond.
Good,
Jim Bonney from Osmond.
good,
Robin Kaufman from Pigeon Lake area.
thank you, good,
Rob Voss from Valders.
okay,
John Kaufman from Osmond.
good,
Allison Kaufman from Kiel.
thank you,
Brenda Kaufman from Kiel.
okay,
Mary Bonney from Osmond.
thank you,
Chad Westphal from Valders.
good,
Linda Koenig from Cleveland.
okay,
Stacy Vogel from Cleveland.
okay,
Kathy Hansen from School Hill.
good,
Judy Voss from Valders.
good,
Irene Dine, Cleveland.
thank you,
Willard Mathias, Cleveland.
thank you,
Alice Mathias, Cleveland.
good,
Jeanette Stevnitz from St. Agents.
good,
Lisa Elson from Newton.
okay,
Marie Rosenbauer from Newton.
okay, thank you,
Cheryl Bauer from Newton.
Joanne Mortimer from Chilton.
okay,
Don Schneider, Louis Corners.
good,
Mary Ann Thompson, Sheboygan.
thank you,
Jerry Leonard, Town of Sheboygan.
thank you,
Alvin Haney, Cleveland.
Rick Beyersdorf, Mimi.
Edith Witzig, Cleveland.
thank you,
Audrey Erlo, St. Nazians.
Selma Vogel, Cleveland.
thank
Marie Pippert, Cleveland.
Frederick Jacoby, Cleveland.
you, thank you,
Cleveland.
Paul Jacoby, Cleveland.
Denise Sixel Drill, New Ulm, Minnesota.
very good,
Mike Drill, New Ulm, Minnesota.
thank you,
Kathy Sixel, Newton.
thank you. And the videographer, Jerry O'Neill from the town of Newton. And I guess we'll let Kathy take over from here for a few moments.
Good evening, everyone. We want to welcome everybody to the Greater Centerville Historians Gathering. It is August 9th, 2010. The Greater Centerville Historians are a branch of Centerville Settlement, our local historical society. We just have a few simple rules, which we will get to. Please raise your hand when you have something to say so Mr. O'Neill can get over to you. Always state your full name. Use full names when referring to people. Refrain from using nicknames. In a couple of years, from now, nobody's going to know the nickname anymore. And please do not visit when someone is speaking because it picks up in the background on the DVD, and always pass the pictures around. And this evening we have Robert Voss, who will present the history of the Ant Hill Mob Motorcycle Organization. Robert, you want to take it away? Start us off.
Right ahead, please.
I'm Alice Baldwin.
Thank you.
I'm from Manitowoc.
Very good. Thank you. You got a young lady who'd like to introduce herself. Right ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Shepherd Goodnow. I'm from Sheboygan.
Okay.
Kenny Hawkins from Sheboygan.
Thank you. Right ahead.
John Wiegand, Town of Centerville.
Thank you.
Any questions about how this motorcycle gang started and what they're all about? don't be bashful to ask because they're really a nice bunch of guys. And I'm gonna turn it over to Rob. He's over here.
There we go.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for having us here tonight. We are the Anthill Mob. Hopefully tonight you'll get a little understanding of where we started from and how we got to the point we are today in society. We started out with a handful of members, and now with both our organizations, we are up to about 150 members. First of all, I have a question for you. Has anybody ever walked in a grocery store, Walmart, and seen a guy all dressed in leather like some of us are tonight, and kind of avoided him, moved to one side, or was afraid they didn't want to go past him? Anybody? Raise your hands. Well, a few short years ago, back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, motorcycling had a very bad name. Before World War II, the motorcycle was used primarily for a transportation unit. After World War II, it became more of a pleasure thing. A lot of veterans came home from the war, they had extra money in their pockets, they went out and bought motorcycles and they rode around the country. Well, if you ever heard the story of Hollister, California, it was on Life magazine. It had a picture of a guy sitting on a motorcycle with beer cans and whiskey bottles laying all over the place. And it started out to be a pretty rowdy bunch of people that rode motorcycles. First of all, the picture in Hollister was staged for the camera. It wasn't that bad. But throughout the years, the reputation of the biker became pretty bad. Anytime something bad happened, it was in the papers, in the newspapers, on TV. To this day, the FBI and Homeland Security and the ATF recognize 5 major motorcycle clubs as being 1%ers. The Anthill Mob is not one of them. The 1% club is the bad of the bad. We are the good of the good. We try very hard to keep a good reputation in our community, and that's kind of why I brought these people along tonight. So you get to meet some of them and understand where our roots grew from and how we became what we are today. First of all, we have our slides up here. We did our introductions already, so you all got to know who we were. And by the way, I grew up in the town of Centerville. I moved to Valders area when I got married, so it's my wife's fault. But I am originally a Centerville person. I have sitting next to me, I have Mr. John Kaufman. He's going to tell you the story of how the Anthill Mob got their name.
Thank you, Rob. Well, it started out years back. There was just a bunch of local kids from the Osmond area. They worked on cars, drove motorcycles, and just maybe 7, 8 guys that hung around together. And they were all of our kids. I'm sure you all know them. My brother, Billy Kaufman, Rick Wasmer, Dean Haas, Ronnie Meyer. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch. Paul Wagner, Steve Wiesner. There was just a bunch of local kids that hung around in Osmond, and places they hung out were either at Hillstrom's bar in Osmond or at Elmer and Goldie's bar. And it just happened one day. My brother, Joel, was working on his race cars in the yard by my dad's place out in the town of Mimi. And all the guys, they came in. One of the guys had an old, I don't know, a 65 Chevy, and they had all the guys into one car. And as the guys all pile out, one of the guys mentioned they looked like a bunch of guys from a cartoon that was on Saturday mornings called the Anthill Mob. And they thought that was pretty good. They started calling themselves the Anthill Mob, and well, that's how they got their name. Before that, they were known as St. Joe's Rat Gang. As they had a bunch of old cars they drove around. My dad, Milton Kaufman, he had a farm out in the Mimi area, and they had race tracks around the dirt fields where they played around there with whatever old junk they could have. And as they got older, they all got motorcycles and stuff. But once they got called the Anthill Mob, that stuck with them, and it grew into what we got today now. The guys drove any kind of bike from a Honda to a Triumph to a Norton, or 1 or 2 Harley Davidsons in the group. And it was just a bunch of guys having fun, going around and it grew into what we got today.
And could I interrupt you? What year was that, or did I miss that time?
That was about 1970,
Okay.
spring of 1970.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
69, I graduated from grade school in 1969, and I was the guy and the kid in the yard that had to go fetch the beer and the tools and stuff for those guys when they were working on cars, and so I got to be quiet and pay attention and listen and learn.
Very good, thank you. Got a gentleman here, he'd like to introduce himself. He did a fine job on the first attempt. Go right ahead.
Once again, I am Rob Voss, formerly from the town of Centerville.
Thank
Proud
you.
of it.
Thank you.
Tonight, we're going to be passing the mic to a lot of different mob members. I'm kind of the one that's going to be leading off the group here each time we speak. One of the next things we want to talk about is how we transferred from a group of motorcyclists into a charity organization. Up on the screen right now is a picture of my grandfather, who was not a mob member, but I like this picture, so we brought it along. He's got a 1918 Indian. He had to sell that when basically he married my grandmother. It's a woman thing, you gotta sell your bike. My grandma used to ride on the handlebars. That's my grandpa Voss, by the way. And when they decided to have a family, he traded or sold the bike and he got a Model T Ford, which was more fitting. I'm going to give the mic over to our current president right now, Mr. Scott Pankratz, and he's going to tell you a little more about what the Anthill Mob is.
Robert, can you tell us a little of the full name of your grandfather and where did he live? Wait, but Jerry's got to get to you.
Yeah, go right ahead.
My grandfather's full name was William Voss. At that point, they lived out in the School Hill area, and after that, they transferred to Kiel. My other grandfather, which was my mom's dad, was Alfred Yanick from Centerville. Alfred and Lily was my grandmother. They lived in Centerville most of their lives.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you got a gentleman here who arrived here, and he's well decorated out, and we want to talk to him.
Good evening. My name is Perry Bonnell. I'm from Two Rivers. Been with the Anthill Mob 5 years of December of last year.
Very good, thank you. And we got a gentleman here also.
Jesse Lipke, from Manitowoc. I've been with the mob negative 4 months.
Rookie written all over your face. Thank you. Okay, got a gentleman here who can give us a lot more information, and he'll introduce himself. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Scott Pankratz from Valders, the current president of the Anthill Mob Motorcycle Club. The Anthill Mob Motorcycle Club is a club of men and women motorcycle enthusiasts. Our purpose is to further the enjoyment of motorcycling by providing organized activities. Some of these activities are motorcycle-oriented fundraising projects to help benefit of charities. Our club objective is to provide a better image of motorcycling to the public. To this end, it is the club's policy to publicize its charitable works. We began as a handful of men and women, or men who like to drink beer and chase women to a group of over 100 men and women who enjoy riding together, partying together, raising money for local charities, and then turning around and giving the money away to all sorts of deserving groups. Recently, we were nominated and we received the Manitowoc County Charity Organization of the Year Award, Nonprofit Organization of the Year Award. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. A young lady who said she has a question. Right ahead, please.
I'm Kathy Sixel. Where does this award come from that you just received?
Okay, thank you.
This award is put together by the Chamber of Manitowoc, and they nominate several different organizations throughout the year that do good work for Manitowoc County, and we were very proud to accept that nomination and the award this year.
Very good, thank you.
Us again.
Thank you.
You have to remind me to tell people who I am. One of the things we wanted to do tonight was to show a little bit of the clothing that we wear on our motorcycles, and I brought some stuff along here today. This is start out with, these are what are called fingerless gloves. A lot of guys prefer these. They're padded. They let the air go in. It's easier on your hand when you're riding your motorcycle. I also brought a regular glove. This is a medium weather riding glove. It's vented, so your hands stay dry. In the winter, or getting closer to winter in the fall of the year, we'd be wearing a heavier glove. I also brought along 3 skull caps. This happens to be one made out of leather. When it's a little colder out, or if you're riding in the rain, this comes in handy. It keeps your head a little more protected. This is basically a lightweight summer cap. This is a medium weight summer cap. A lot of guys that have longer hair, which I no longer have, you'll see them ride down the road. They use these basically as hair nets. And if you follow me over to the table, I also brought along 2 styles of helmets. This is what is considered a half helmet. This happens to be the one that I wear when we go on long trips. We'll pass that around too. And also, this is my wife's full face helmet. She's a lot better looking than me, so she has a lot more to protect, so she wears a full face helmet. I also brought along 3 styles of jackets. This first jacket, you'll notice the patch on the side here. This is one of the original Anthill Mob patches. When in 1978, when I joined the Anthill Mob, this is the patch that I had. This jacket is fairly old. I think I got it in 1977. And the reason why I'm bringing these along here is so that you can see how the jackets progressed throughout the years. This is a more modern version of that jacket. And as you can see, the styling has changed a little bit. They do realize that bikers gain weight, so they put these little laces on there so that you can expand a little bit. And what a lot of guys do is, they complain that wearing leather gets to be pretty warm. So this next jacket I brought along has vented pockets, so the air flows through. And you'll find a lot of leather jackets will have zippers in the back that'll have vents in that you can open up in the summertime when you're riding. The leather is very important, that if you would happen to drop your bike or have an accident, this hits the road and not your skin. So if you ever see a guy in a full leather suit that's riding on a hot summer day, it's probably because he likes to keep his skin on. And these are chaps. Basically, we wear these for warmth, and some of us use them as rain protection. They do protect your legs. Blue jeans are nice and warm sometimes, and you see people ride motorcycles in shorts and tennis shoes, and that's just one thing that bothers me. Because all they have to do is hit something and dump the bike, and their skin is on the road. The new wave of clothing is called Kevlar. I don't have any of that with me, but it's actually stronger than leather, and it's lightweight. It keeps you a little cooler. It's a breathable, versus the leather does not breathe very well. Next, if you notice, we have a lot of pins and patches on our leather vests. Most of the people around this table have special meanings to each one of their pins and patches. Someplace they rode, they have different patches and marking on from different rallies, like Sturgis rallies and Daytona rally. The gentleman that walked in late here, if you notice all the pins he has, He is also a member of the Hog chapter, and he does a lot of riding to different spots where you will get pins. Now I have to tell you a little story about Perry with his pins. Last year we were on one of our poker runs and we were up in Sturgeon Bay area, and we were walking into the bar to get our book stamped, and a bunch of ladies in red hats came walking out, known as the Red Hatters. Well, they noticed Perry standing there with all his pins and stuff, and the one lady looked at him and said, "Well, what did you ever do to earn all those pins?" And Mr. Kaufman, sitting next to me, in a split second said, "He beats up little old ladies with red hats." And they all had a good laugh over it. Even the Red Hatters laughed. They thought it was funny. There's a lot of our patches that have special meanings. These are black ones with a little RIP on them. Scott, if you just want to stand and turn around. Each one of those black patches represents one of our members that we no longer have with us.
Right here. You gotta turn a little bit, yes. There you go. There you go.
We have quite a few
Thank you.
people in our club that had passed away, some from natural causes, some due to motorcycle accidents, some due to car accidents. Every year we honor everybody that was an Anthill Mob member is no longer with us. We also have a lot of members that have military insignias on their colors. And if you notice, Scott, he was a Marine, he has his. Jim was a Marine, he has his patch on. We have guys that belong to the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. So in the Anthill Mob, we're pretty diversified as far as ex-military personnel. We're very proud of that fact. Every year in November, we honor them at one of our meetings, just the fact to let them know that we are very gracious to them, that they did serve this country, and now they are with the Anthill Mob serving our community. A long time ago, we decided to have a bike show. Now I'm going to give the mic to Mr. Hogan, and he's going to explain to you a little bit about our first bike show.
Okay, we got a gentleman here who would like to introduce himself and tell us about more events from the Anthill Mob. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Tom Hoban from Hoban Cycle and also a member of the Anthill Mob.
Thank you.
And way back in '83, we started was our first annual show. And I'm going to go back a little before that, because in '71, my older brother Bill had brought home a '71 Harley Sprint, and that kind of got the ball rolling for my love with motorcycles. So when we got old enough to buy bikes, we bought Harleys, obviously, because he bought a Harley. Luckily, didn't bring a Yamaha home or something. But we fell in love with bikes, and we started fixing bikes. And in 1980, we started Hoban Cycle, 3 Hoban brothers. And there was a real love with bikes, and we started fixing bikes and stuff. And then we used to take them down to a show in Madison. And one year, it was at the Dane County Coliseum, and it was very nice building, and it was pretty high class. But the club that was putting the show on couldn't afford to have it at that building the next year, so they had it at some old hangar in the airport down in Madison. So we got sitting down after the show, and there was quite a few bikes from the Manitowoc and Sheboygan County area. So me and Jim and Bruce Wagner, who had passed away this past year, but he was kind of instrumental in talking us into having a bike show. And I thought, they just had built the expo in Manitowoc, and it was a perfect facility for a bike show. And we decided, why are we coming down to Madison when we got this perfect facility right here next door? And it was right, 13 miles from Hoban Cycle. So I said, be good PR for the shop. And And being a member of the Anthill Mob, I thought, you know, in order to pull this off, I'm gonna need some manpower. So I approached the club and said, you know, I wanna put this show on. And the first year it was pretty rough because we had to go in front of the board, and like Rob said, bikers had a bad name, so we went in front of the county board, and it was like pulling teeth trying to get the okay to have that bike show at the expo. You know, they thought everybody was gonna come in and tear this building down and set it on fire, you know. And so we finally got it okayed, and everybody that we booked bands and stuff like that, and all of these people thought, well, you know, we're gonna have to have our money up front because there's no way we're gonna trust these bikers to. So I wound up borrowing money from my dad and putting a lot of my own money into it. And I remember my dad saying, well, what if it's not, what if you don't make it? Who's gonna pay me back? And I said, well, it's just a chance we're gonna have to take, I said. So anyway, we got done with the bike show and paid all the bills, and we wound up, we had less than $200 left. But we did show a profit. And we did it that year for muscular dystrophy, which was like the big muscular dystrophy was like Harley's main, that was like their main charity that they gave money to. So they kept calling me and saying, where's the money? You had a bike show, where's the money for that you're gonna give us? And I said, we didn't make any money. And we kept the money for the next year to kind of start it. And then the second year we made $1,200. And since then now last year, what did we give away, 30,000? The last several years we've given away
Wow.
$30,000.
Wow.
So it's been a very, I mean, and we just enjoy it. It's a lot of work. I mean, our club's gotten bigger, but the show has gotten so big that we need 100 people to pull it off. And everybody in the club pulls together, and it's just been a fun 28 years.
Got a question. Did your dad smile when he got paid back?
Yeah, he was happy. But
Very
you know,
good.
he was pretty proud that we pulled it off.
Right. Good. Thank you. Okay, we got a gentleman here who is going to indicate his dad's name.
Francis Hogan is the one I borrowed money from to start that first annual Northeastern Wisconsin Motorcycle Classic.
And maybe you can give a little bit of a highlight of what did your dad do in Osmond as far as operation of a store or something?
Dad was actually a farmer until 1968, and then he bought the Osmond store from Leona Schneider.
Okay.
And ran it till he died at 87.
Okay. Thank you.
So.
Good. Okay. Got it.
Hi, I'm Jim Bonney from Osmond. I've been with the club for 34 years. First president of Anthill Mob. And how that came to be is 1976. I started dating my wife, Mary Miller, over there. And she got me introduced into the Anthill Mob. And from there, it went on. But the picture you see up on the board is it the first ride? Well, it's one of the charity rides we have. What is it? Fourth charity ride. At that year, I used to own a three-wheeler with a Volkswagen engine in it, and I could have been the president at that time, but I was basically probably the chairman of the charity ride. And what the charity ride is a 100-mile charity ride, run rain or shine. And we go around Manitowoc County, and we collect pledges to go to worthy organizations that we're raising money for. And over the years, let's see, this year was our 26th annual ride. We raised, I guess I can't reveal that now because we don't have the total number, but it's been close to $10,000 every year, every charity ride. And this is our 26th year.
Okay.
What else can I say? The most bikes we ever had on the charity ride, I think, was about 225. And over the years, it fluctuates from 150, 125. This year we had 130 motorcycles.
I got a question for you, sir.
People,
I got a question. Jerry O'Neill, I noticed, if I'm talking correctly, I live just off of Highway C, and I see once in a while riders heading for St. Nazianz, and then they seem to be gathering a few extra riders, and then they start to head east. Is that your group by any chance?
It varies on several weekends and stuff. There's usually a lot of rides going on. Our ride usually is on the third Saturday of the month in July.
Okay.
And there's other rides going on too, but ours is usually the third Saturday in July. And we congregate. We used to meet at Butch's Tavern in St. Nazianz, but we went toward Osmond, where Anthill Mob originated from.
Okay.
So we start our rides out at Hogan Cycle Shop right now.
Okay.
And we usually end up at Newton Park, Newton Fireman's Park.
Sure.
For our ending thing.
As far as, if I may ask another question, Jerry O'Neill, the regulations that you sort of set down with your group as you ride, is there some control, if you will, of your group, what they can do or can't do?
Can't do it. Can't do it. Well, what we do is we ask everybody to go and get pledges.
Okay.
And, which is a 100-mile ride is a penny is $1, 2 cents is $2, and even number is $5, whatever, it goes up. So whatever you can go out and get for donations, and then we bring that in, and then we total up, and whatever money we raise off the refreshments and stuff at the end and the food, we put that in and donate it to the charities. And this year the charity was Holiday House and Domestic Violence Center, and this year was the first year we ever had a double, is that the right word to say, two charities on the charity ride. Otherwise we always had one charity.
Could you name the other charities that you may have helped along here?
So there's a list of charities that we have. I have to use my cheaters here. Okay, it's right behind on the board. Okay. Muscular Dystrophy, Domestic Violence Center. We did numerous charity rides and bike shows for Domestic Violence Center. We helped them purchase a shelter that they're currently in. We gave them a down payment on that one. And we used to, the Domestic Violence Center used to be out on 15th Street, I believe, in that area. And me and my wife used to go in there a lot of times, and talking to Michelle Stewart and Kathy Conan were the executive directors at the Violence Center. And I was just wondering every time we came out of there what people thought about why Jim Bonney and his wife were going to the Violence Center. It was all for a good cause. And we did numerous charity rides and bike shows and bowl-a-thons for big brothers and big sisters of Manitowoc County. Holiday House, I get a little choked up here, but Holiday House is kind of close to my heart with Mike Wasmer, which recently passed away. He was at the Holiday House for a while. But, and then we went to the fire departments, Cleveland, St. Nazianz, Newton, and I believe Collins, I think, at that time to raise money for them for the bike show. Markle Manor, I think it's right now it's called Markle Services, but that is a drug and alcohol rehab center in Manitowoc. We did numerous charity rides and bike shows for them. Camp Sinawa, we helped them raise money to build a shelter over at Camp Sinawa. As you drive into Camp Sun, one of the buildings that is built there is, the money was put toward the building of that. Local police departments, we do not, they came to us and requested money for special projects. I won't tell you what it was for, but we did a bike show for them.
Okay.
And we had a thank you letter from them. They were very appreciative toward the donation toward that. Manitowoc County Special Olympics, another organization that's deep in my heart. We did numerous of bike shows and charity rides for Special Olympics, as you probably seen in the paper, all the money that we donated toward them. Peter's Pantry, we did a bike show for Peter's Pantry, and I'm not sure if we did a charity ride for them or I know Roseanne Erdman down at Peter's Pantry, she does an excellent job down there. And we gave them money for food and other supplies that they needed at Candlelighters of the Lake Shore, Children with Cancer. Back on the back table there, I have a teddy bear. I'll let Rob Voss talk about that a little later on. We also received an award for Shining Stars that Rob can explain a little bit about that. Make-A-Wish Foundation is, I guess all you people would know, Make-A-Wish is Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. Cystic fibrosis, that's a disease. My knowledge of that, I don't know, I understand, there's a doctor sitting over there, I believe. I think he took care of my mother at one time. Spinal bifida of northeast Wisconsin. That I know we did a bike show for them. Homeless vets it's homeless vets. I believe that should be Veterans Home up in King, Wisconsin. We did a charity ride for them, and we raised $9,500 off of that. That holds a special thing in my heart for the veterans. So up at King, Two Rivers Sisters Treatment Home. If you do not know this, there's an article back there that we raise money for the sisters at the home, and these are sisters from the Order of St. Francis, I believe. Okay. And these sisters take care of children that are physically very, how would you say it, disabled. We presented them. The sister called me up, and president, I think, at that time, and I asked her what she would need at the home, and she said, all we're looking for is electric lawnmower. And so we did this ride for them, and we rode up there, and she gave us a tour of the home and everything in Two Rivers, and you cannot believe what we saw when we walked into this building and stuff. Kids were laying in bed and stuff, and they couldn't take care of themselves. But these sisters would take care of these children 24/7, and they were in their 80s and stuff. And these sisters are taking care of these children that were very disabled things. But we presented them with a check of, I think it was $9,100 or something like that, and they were just flabbergasted about that amount. So I think that helped them out a lot and stuff. But, Lakeshore Weekend for the kids is also goes to Children's Hospital in Milwaukee. School Hill Men's Club, organization that baseball for the children in School Hill and the surrounding areas. Various local families. I mean, we families in our club that come to
request money for different things and stuff, and people from around the area that need money. I know we helped Buddy Knox out. He was, Sandy Fitzgerald approached us and said that Buddy would need a mattress and stuff, and we gave him money for that, and money to get around in his vehicle and stuff. People that come to us and request money for anything. I know we just gave away $500 to somebody that was in need of money. People traveling to hospitals down in Milwaukee, to Zion Hospital for cancer, stuff like that. We just gave away some money for that. So basically, the charity ride, I believe we raised over $100,000, maybe more than that. I mean, we're looking right now as, I'll maybe let Scott talk about that, how much money we actually raised now over the period of the charity ride and the bike show and stuff. And it's, when you hear the total, you'll almost fall off your chair. It's amazing, because the first bike show we had, like Tom said, we raised $142. And I thought, being first president of Anthem Mob, I thought, I don't know, but as it grew, the bike show grew, we started raffling off a motorcycle and stuff, and from that time on, it grew. And I'll let Scott tell you how much we actually raised, maybe in the second hour that we had this thing here. But being the charity ride chairman and stuff, it's a great opportunity. I love doing it. I know me and this other member, over the last couple of years, we've been in competition of raising money. I know one year, I went out there and I always said to the club, if you can raise $100 or you can beat me in getting pledges, I'll buy you a steak dinner. So Russ Zipper, one of our members, kind of took me up on this challenge. And first year I came in with, I don't know what it was, $2,500 or something. He came in with a little under me. The next year was, he raised $5,300, and I come along with $4,500. Well, then I owed him a steak dinner. But the other year was maybe a little less. He got a little bit more. This year, I was working a lot of hours and stuff at work, so I didn't really have the chance to get out there and get what I raised in one year. But I asked him about a week before the 17th of July, well, Russ, what did you come up with? He told me, well, $1,200. He said, I just couldn't get out there and stuff. And I just knew in the back of my mind that, Russ, yeah, I think you're lying. Anyway, it came down to Saturday, and he got off his bike and he approached Hogan's cycle, and I said, well, Russ, what did you end up with? He said, $37.87. And I said, okay, so I came in with $3,700 on that day, so he beat me again, so I owe him a steak dinner again. But it's kind of a challenge that I put out toward the club. If he beat me, I buy him a steak dinner, and the only one that has beaten me is Russ Zipper, so. But I enjoy doing it and stuff, and I hope it continues another few years and stuff. But I believe Charlie Bauer has a question.
I got a question on your bike rides. Now, when you set up your bike rides, Charlie Bauer, didn't I say Charlie Bauer? Hi, Charlie Bauer. Jim did. When you set up your bike rides, do you lay out the roads you're going to go on, and then must you have the police department approve it, and do they, how does that all work?
Okay, I know that question. I forgot about that, but Jim Bonney.
Thank you.
From Osmond.
Thank you.
Yes, we do. I do sit down with Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, and Chad Westphalen is over there. He introduced himself before. He is the chairman of the charity right now. We do sit down and talk to the police departments about the route. We show them the route of what we planned out, the 100-mile ride, and they will tell us if they will assist us on the ride and stuff. And Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department is very, over the years, they always helped us out if they get called away from a stop sign or something like that, then they will, we're not supposed to do it, but we do it anyway. We block the intersections and things like that. When we get into the city, over the years, we always had help from the city police department, but as it goes on, we kind of shy away from that. I don't know if it's the insurance part of it or whatever, but if you get a large amount of motorcycles coming into a city, the people aren't too thrilled about sitting there waiting at an intersection to let 150 motorcycles go through. But and this year, I believe Two Rivers and stuff, the police departments really help us out a lot. It's just that if they get called away from the site, we have to abide by the stop signs and the stop and go lights and stuff. So yes, we do sit down and we go over the route with them, and we let them call us back and tell us if they will assist us or not.
Thank you. Okay, we got a gentleman here who'd like to continue and he'd identify himself first of all.
Rob Boss, formerly from Centerville, now from Valders. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is community. In the Anthill Mob, we have the Anthill Mob community, which is made up of a lot of people here, our brothers and sisters, also our families, our children, our parents, our uncles and aunts. Everybody that is associated with an Anthill Mob member is part of our Anthill Mob community. Even some of the families who we have lost our loved ones, their parents still continue to get the newsletter. We keep them updated. We invite them to our banquets and such as that. The next community, our friends and families and neighbors. Our neighbors are very important to us. Without our neighbors helping us at our charity functions, we would not be able to raise the amount of money as we do. We have a very good reputation in Osmond, very good reputation in Cleveland. The fire departments from Newton, Cleveland, Osmond, on our charity rides, they're more than willing to help us out. The people sitting around this table, I see familiar faces. I know that throughout the years, maybe something that this club has done has touched one of your family members. The charity communities. We just went through our whole list of charity communities. They are very important to us. Every year, that list grows and grows. The way we choose our charities, we ask for everybody to turn in applications, and we have a little form they have to fill out, letting us know about their charities. We bring that up to our entire membership, and in November, we vote on which charities we choose for the year. Right now, our organization runs the bike show in spring. We have our summer ride, our charity ride. We also do a poker run in fall. And the last few years, we've been doing a shared charity event at the Manitowoc County Fair. And by shared, I mean we partnered up with the Vietnam Vets Chapter 731, which is a local organization out of Manitowoc. And we have a beer and food stand there. We've been doing this project for about 4 years now, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. It's not a big money maker because it's hard to make money at the fair, but it's something that we do to help out the Chapter 731 of the Vietnam Vets. Listed up on the board now is our calendar of events, and this is kind of like the life of the Anthill Mob. In January, we have our annual banquet. And what that consists of is all our members are invited to go out to eat, and last year was held at the Altona and the Holstein. And we also have invited guests. Usually all our charities that we raise money for throughout the year. Anybody in the community that has helped us out. And by that I mean, if you worked for one of our events and you wanted to come to the banquet, we're more than willing to treat you to a free meal. We also give out our awards, and after the break, we'll be passing some of those awards around, and I'll explain a little more about them. In March, we always do the Big Brothers and Big Sisters Bowl-a-thon, and you may have noticed that funny-looking bowling pin on the back table. We'll be passing that around a little later. That is kind of been the goal of the Anthill Mob. Every shift of the bowl-a-thon, they auction off a pin. And I think when Jim was president, he's the first one that had bought a pin. And then we didn't do it for a couple of years. When I became president, we started buying pins, and now we haven't stopped. Since Scott's been president for 3 years, we've been buying pins. So we have quite a collection of funny-looking bowling pins. Pretty soon we can start our own bowling alley. In April, our bike show, which is our major fundraiser, and we hit on that before. We do raise a lot of money off of it, but once again, without the community support, we could not do it. One thing they didn't mention when they were talking about the bike show, we actually had years where we went down to the Cleveland State Bank and borrowed money to start our bike show up again. So we took a loan out, a bunch of dirty rotten bikers went into a state bank and borrowed money. Everybody kind of looked at each other like, well, what happens if the bike show's a flop again? You know, okay, we dig out of our pockets to pay it back. And the bank president down in Cleveland was just an excellent guy. He helped us out quite a bit. Then moving on, we do our poker run, and first of all, our memorial ride in May. Our memorial ride is something that's very near and dear to all of our hearts. All the patches that we talked about that are on everybody's jackets, we go to each and every cemetery. We lay a rose on each and every grave. We invite the parents, brothers and sisters of those who have passed. We do this to honor not only our members who have passed, but also their families. We have a very good turnout every year for that. It's, I know one of our presidents, Fuzzy Bellin, had once said that one of the hardest things he ever had to do as president was to do the memorial ride. And we have several presidents sitting here right now, and I'm sure they'll all agree that it is very hard. You talk about somebody that meant a lot to you and is no longer here, it's very difficult. We're going to keep doing this every year until there's only one of us left. And someday we're probably going to have to get a bus because we're not going to be able to ride our bikes anymore. Moving on to July, we just talked about our charity ride. Another project that gets a little more difficult every year to do, especially with the laws changing. The fire departments, police departments, Jim had talked about that, helping us out. We also have a family picnic every summer, and that date kind of gets moved around depending on how busy our schedules are. This year it got bumped back to September because we do have a lot of activities going on, a lot of shared activities where we do other stuff with other organizations. And then in August is the Manitowoc County Fair. And I imagine some of you probably attend the Manitowoc County Fair. And what I would like to do is invite you to just come and stop in and talk to us over at the variety tent. We do have music, but it's usually rock and roll, and it's pretty loud, so you may not want to stick around for that. Then in September, our annual poker run. This is something that's in their second year. It's very successful. Our first year, we had a lot of success for it. We brought out a whole new group of people that never knew what the Anthill Mob was about. The kickoff for the poker run starts at our bike show, and it goes until September. So you have all summer long. Right now in the book, there's over 100 stops, and it's pretty much, I'd say, almost statewide it's getting to be. The furthest one out, some of us just visited last Saturday, which is High Ground Memorial for the veterans out in Neilsville. It was a very touching ride to take it out there. I went out with Mr. Bonney and Ken Scadaboo and my wife and myself. I know some of our other members have been out there. They're an organization too that we're looking at to donate money to because they're completely financed by donations. Then we get to our November, and November is a busy month for us because we elect officers. We also do our charities. It's a month where I'd say if you want to see people nervous, pulling their hair out, that's the month. We have our election of officers. We elect the president and a secretary at the same time, and we do our vice president and treasurer at the same time, and then we do 3 board members one time and 4 board members the second time.
I'm Charlie Bauer for the camera. We're going to take our 5-minute break now. And this is a wonderful group here, so what we're going to start with, as soon as we come back, we want to know how to join this organization. So we'll have Bob start with that, and then he's going to go through some of his awards and stuff back there. But we're going to take our regular 5-minute break, and you can look at some of the newspaper clippings back there. These guys have been a pretty busy group here.
Taking care of her grandkids. Her youngest is that, and she works up in New York and who have children when they're younger and enjoy them then. Back on August 21st. Well, right now I'm down to quite a few. Yeah. Started writing as much as the summer hasn't done so much, but there's something for me. I just didn't have the right one, so I had to come back. Yeah. Yeah, they're busy. Yeah, that's good. I sure sleep well that night. John, yeah, 50 stamps. Okay. I'm his mom. He's my baby. Her husband used to have a garage next to our barn. I cut him off. I only came over for gas with my lawnmower. That's right. I thought we were just there. I worked this up so well. Oh, okay. And he was always in the back and he was up in the front. We go to the Veterans Hospital in December and hand out cookies and fruit to the veterans, and we give out a chaplain there, check for 5 person that needs and so we do that. Oh, did they sell them? Oh, okay. Just crossed the $50 threshold. Sure. But that's
No, you're doing good. Very good. Just keep it up. I got that thing here.
After the question, have Allison talk about how she came to her, and then we probably want to use our secretary,
Are you ready, cameraman?
Oh, 1 minute.
There's lots of information to disseminate here tonight, sir.
I'll be
We had a whole
there.
month off to get that camera oiled up.
Bearings are warming up here.
Does anybody have a question to start the group off with here? Because we can do questions first.
I got a gentleman who has a question. Go right ahead, please.
John Wiegand. I was just wondering, does the IRS ever give you any trouble or not?
Thank you. You got a young lady who's been asked a very vital question. She'll identify herself. Go right ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Mary Bonney, and I've been the treasurer for just 2 years. No, the IRS has never bothered us. The state, if you're a little late with your sales tax, they'll fine you. But no, we've never had any trouble.
As far as charity money, there is no taxes on that type of thing?
Well, we give it all away.
That's okay. Okay, very
Are
good.
you a 501c3?
I think so. You'd have to ask Tom. He was treasurer for a long time than I am.
Thank you. Good. You got a gentleman who now has the microphone. He'll introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Rob Voss, formerly from Centerville, now from Valders. Yes, we are a nonprofit organization, and we do have all our paperwork filed with the state, so we are perfectly legal. Our treasurers in the past have done an excellent job keeping us out of jail, which is a good thing. The next thing we'd like to talk about, people wonder from time to time, how do you become an Anthill Mob member? Well, first of all, you need a sponsor. And I'm kind of picky. I don't sponsor a lot of people. You know, I have certain criteria that they have to fulfill to become an Anthill Mob member. First of all, they got to be young and good looking. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to our youngest Anthill Mob member, and she is also our newest Anthill Mob member.
Thank you. Got a young lady who will respond to that directive, and she'll start by identifying herself, please. Go right ahead.
I'm Allison Kaufman, and I'm from Kiel. And as Rob said, I'm the newest member and the youngest member of the Anthill Mob. And for the past year, I had to be a prospect, so I had to meet certain criteria, I guess, to become a member. I had to go to all the meetings and participate in club events, and I don't know, I guess I just had a lot of fun doing it. I loved helping raise money, and I worked at participated in the Big Brothers Big Sisters Bowl-a-thon, and I worked at the fair, and I participated and worked at the bike show and the charity ride. And I guess what made me want to become a member is because I hung around the mob my entire life, and my parents, John and Brenda Kaufman, are mob members, so I was always around, and I have aunts and uncles in the mob, and I've seen what they do, and I'm really proud of them, and I really do consider the entire Anthill Mob my extended family, so it's just been a great time being a member and being a prospect. And I guess what I expect to get out of the mob is to have a lot of fun, to learn a lot of life lessons, which I've learned quite a few already. I really love helping all the charities that we help, and I hope to do a lot more of that.
I got a question for you. Do you have your own bike?
I do have my own bike. It doesn't run the greatest, and I'm not really the best at driving it yet. But I
Okay.
have my license, and I'm working on practicing, so hopefully one day I'll be able to ride with the rest of the guys and stop riding on the back of my mom's bike.
Very good, thank you. We got a gentleman who got the mic back at him there, and he'll identify himself one more time, please.
Rob Voss, formerly from Centerville, now from Valders. To give you a comparison about, you know, what Allison had to do was a heck of a lot of work. And we have another prospect sitting back here, and he's going through that process right now too, where they do a lot of work. They have to be there almost all the time. If they need an excuse, absence from one of the meetings or from an event, they talk to their sponsor, and their sponsor comes and talks to the board, and they were excused. When I joined the Anthill Mob back in 1978, it was around a kitchen table, probably around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and Carl Hansen asked me if I wanted to join the Anthill Mob, and I said, sure, why not? And he threw a little patch at me and said, okay, you're a member. Things have came a long way. And what I expected out of the Anthill Mob at that time, I really don't know if I remember that. It sounded like a good thing to do. I rode around with these guys, and I knew most of the Hogans and the Kaufmans from school, and a lot of us, that's how we got involved. We knew each other from school. We were classmates. Speaking of classmates, we have our secretary with us here tonight, and I know she's just dying to get in front of the microphone to explain a little bit what the secretary's duties are and our record-keeping process. With all the stuff that we do, it's between the treasurer and the secretary, they have a big load on them. They need to keep all the records straight. The archives, we sat last night and went through tons and tons of papers to put this presentation together tonight. So now I'd like to turn it over to our secretary.
Thank you. Good. Got a smiling lady here, and her job can't be too serious, but she's going to tell us a little bit about it. Right ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Brenda Kaufman from Kiel area. I've been in the club since 1978 also, and currently serving as secretary. I have almost 1 year completed, but had already done that in the past years, like in the early 90s. Take a lot of notes, and actually our vice president told me I take too many notes compared to our previous secretary, so there's probably a couple notebooks in a year, but just writing down everything that's said, every motion that's made and seconded and carried, and just whatever everyone says. So it's really not too bad of a job. The worst part is getting up and repeating every month what is said, and people are talking, and if you've noticed, I get a little red talking in front of people, so that never goes away. But I enjoy doing it. Took a couple years off when our kids were growing up, so really didn't have the time to put forth. But like I said, this is my first year coming back, and just like to be involved in the club.
I got 2 questions. Do you have your own bike?
I do drive my own bike, and I usually have a passenger.
Okay.
If the bike's coming out of the garage, my daughter's there with me, so my husband and I ride side by side.
Okay. I mentioned I had 2 questions. Do you have a website?
We do have a website for the club, and it's anthillmob.net.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much. I've got a question for someone. Okay, there's a question on the floor. Okay, got a gentleman here who would like to introduce himself. Go ahead, please.
Paul Jacoby. Are there monthly dues? And if a guy misses too many meetings, what happens then?
Thank you. Okay, we got a gentleman here who has been presented a couple questions, I guess, and he'll try to answer them and introduce himself. Go right ahead, please.
Tom Hogan from Osmond. I was the treasurer for the last 16 years before Mary took over, and since I've been the treasurer, our dues have been $15 a year, which is, and that includes, because the bike show is so successful, we do keep 25% of that profit. We donate usually around 30,000, but we keep like 7,000 or 8,000 to operate for the year, to pay for advertising and different things. So.
Okay.
But it also buys, we have refreshments at the meeting, and we really don't need to raise the dues because of that, because we do work awful hard during the year at all of our events. We feel that, $15 is plenty, and it covers all of our expenses at our monthly meetings.
Very good. I noticed on your website vision here, who came up with the artistic things there pertaining to the ants and the bike? That's pretty good. There we go. Good.
John Kaufman from Osmond area.
Good. Thank you.
My older sister was home too when the club first started, where I told you the story about the guys, how they got their name, the Antill Mob. Well, she was an artist. She was going to art school down in University of Wisconsin in Madison. So they asked her to draw up a little design and put it on a patch for the guys. Okay. And that's pretty much what she came up with. And they liked it, and it got perfected and tweaked and stuff, and it's to what we got now. Okay. If you look at our title, it says Antill Mob MC Ltd. That's limited. The reasoning for all the extra lettering and stuff besides Antill Mob was when we got certified as a bike club, we had to do something to keep infringement laws from Hanna-Barbera, the people who made the cartoon Antill Mob. So by adding the limited, we were bonded as a different name to keep away any kind of lawsuit or them coming and tell us we could not use that name anymore. So that's why you see all the extra stuff on there. That was my brother-in-law, Bob Branter. He was pretty smart in school, worked as a union steward and that, and he looked at that and said, yeah, we got to do something about that. He was club president at the time. Okay. So when we actually became a charter, I think we were a charter, right?
Yeah.
But
that was our state.
Yeah, for our taxes and...
We're incorporated.
Yeah, incorporated, that's the word for it.
Okay.
But that's where the limited came from, to avoid any kind of lawsuits or anything like that.
Now, as an organization, can you be sued?
I don't believe so, because of the paperwork, everything was all filed with the state and everything, it was all done legally.
All right. And I guess a technical question also in regard to insurance. You cover your own insurance, each individual?
As far as driving, yes, we do.
Okay, all right.
We do have a policy that covers the club
for function,
but as we drive throughout, it's up to we each gotta carry our own insurance for
All right.
riding the bikes.
Okay. Since it's a mechanical machine that you're riding around with, and some have vintage to them, as far as maintaining the vehicle along the way, is there something following you as far as a trailer perhaps, or something like that?
When we do our charity ride, we have a truck with a trailer. The last couple of years, Hogan Cycle has donated their pickup truck and trailer
Okay.
as a chase vehicle.
Okay.
Other years, people have had trailers. I've got my own trailer for hauling bikes. I've done it already with my car. Somebody's usually got tools along, you know, if it's nothing major, we just stop and fix the bike on the side of the road.
Sure. Okay.
Hopefully.
Well, you got a lot of heads to work with, and I'm sure they got ideas how to repair things too.
Oh yeah, a lot of brains.
Well,
Lots of ideas.
Thank you very much. Good job.
Rob Boss from Centerville.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say Balders anymore. What Charlie is holding up there is our Davis Hornick Ward plaque. There's a picture of Davis on it. He was a young biker that was killed one night after a softball game that we had down at Okie Dokie. Davis and myself and a few other guys in here played on the Hogan softball team. He left along with myself and a couple other guys. Davis turned to go home and never made it. So a few years back, we decided that in his memory we would award plaques to members who have basically came up to the same high standards that Davis lived his life. Davis was a hard-working individual, loved the Anthill mob, and he would do anything for you. So every year the board picks a candidate. We take suggestions from the board, and we decide on one member who has, throughout that year and other years, have been outstanding and have gone above and beyond what is expected of an Anthill mob member. The next one that we're going to be handing around here is the actual award in which the individual will receive. The big plaque that's going around is one with all the names on of people in the past who have received it. We do need to do some updating on there. You'll notice the dates aren't current. This award, this happens to be mine. I was very honored that year. There was a split decision between myself and John Kaufman. We both received the award that year. It's a great honor, and I know many of the people sitting in this room have received this award. It's something that his parents are there and his whole family every year at our banquet to hand out. It gets to be very emotional, but just to honor Davis is what that was all about. We also have several other awards that we basically had started out a couple years now. The Davis Hornick Award is our longest running award. A few years back we started out our Lifetime Achievement Award. This award is voted on by our club membership. Our club members have a ballot every year, and it has all the names of whoever has 25 years or more in the club. To be eligible for this award, you have to be a senior member, so you have to have at least 25 years or more in the club, and the club votes on it. The recipient is not revealed until the banquet. That plaque, I believe, is Jim Bondy's. I think he were the first one to receive that award. Other recipients were Terry Knox, myself, Robin Kaufman. It's a very great honor to receive that award. There's a lot of people that do a lot of things in this club, and it was just another way that we could say thank you to them and honor them. We also do our past president award. When you're an outgoing president, you receive a plaque like this. Also, when you're an outgoing secretary, treasurer, or vice president, you'll receive a plaque like that. It's one way that our club just says thanks for the job you did throughout the years. I know Tom Hoban had to wait, 13 years to get a plaque because he never got voted out. So some of us earned it a little more than others. And then we also have our crystals. We recognize all our members for the times that they have served in the Anthill Mob. That happens to be a 30-year award. We do the crystals starting at 25, and we go every 5 years, you get a crystal. Before that, we have some patches that'll let people know. I know I have some on my vest someplace that say 10 years or 5 years or 15 years. They're kind of all around the room if you look at them. Once we get into the later years, or senior years as we like to say, or maybe I'm just one that likes to say that, but we start awarding crystals and plaques and to do a little more recognition type process. Then we get down to some of our awards that we receive as a club. This was the bowling pin I talked about, the one that we basically buy this bowling pin every year, but the money goes to Big Brothers and Big Sisters. When we do our bowl-a-thon in March, it's kind of our way to celebrate, and we're at a function where we really don't have to work at it. All we have to do is go there and have fun. And it's another way that we give back to the community. Our members get pledges, they come in with their pledge sheets, they bowl, they have a good time, and we buy bowling pins.
What did this cost though?
That one I think was like $575. It all depends who's bidding on it. Moretti's Deli in Manitowoc, they were pretty big bidders for a while there, but now he kind of like, as soon as we start bidding, he says, they're going to buy it anyhow. We also, from time to time, receive plaques from organizations. This one happens to be from Big Brothers and Big Sisters and of Manitowoc County, and it was presented to the Anthill Mob for one of our charity raising events that we had held for them. Just about every organization that we ever raise money for, we have some type of plaque. Altogether, we probably have close to 100, 150 plaques that we receive throughout the years. So this is just a small sampling of them. And also, we do the Special Olympics, we do quite a bit of stuff for. We get recognized on the county level, they'll give us a plaque. But for a few years, they had the Special Olympics statewide up in Green Bay. Now they cut that back, I think, every other year because of funding. But this is what we received up there in Green Bay one year. And it was basically recognized by the state that the Anthill Mob gave money to Special Olympics program through the Manitowoc Miracles. So we don't only get recognition on county levels, but it's also a statewide thing. We also choose to recognize people that donate money to us. This is a plaque that we give to our sponsors of our trophies for our bike show. And every year they get a medallion that goes on the bottom. And we've been doing that for probably about 6 years now, 7 years. It's something that we say thank you to the people that help support us. This next one has a special story behind it. I'm going to try to make it through talking to this without crying. We raised money for the Candlelighters of Lakeshore, and that is a organization that deals with childhood cancer. And the story behind this bear, now it doesn't look like much of a plaque or an award, it doesn't say too much on it other than Harley Davidson. This has a special place in all our Anthill Mob members' hearts. What had happened is after the bike show, a few of us, our treasurer at that time, Tom, our secretary, Robin Kaufman, we were sitting in the boardroom at the Manitowoc Expo, and we were feeling pretty darn good about ourselves. We just completed another successful bike show and raised a ton of money, and everybody was happy. And all of a sudden, there's a knock on the door, and a couple with their daughter asked if they could speak to us. We thought, sure, they worked at the bike show all weekend long, so we figured they're just going to come in and say thank you. And they're carrying this bear. And the father started talking, and he said, well, we want to give this bear to you. And the story behind this is they had a younger daughter, that lost her life battling cancer. Their older daughter that was with them, she had cancer too, and she beat it. The older daughter had gave this bear to her little sister and had told her that she got this bear from the bikers, and the bikers will always be there for you. And she awarded this bear to us, and when they told their story, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. It was just, it meant so much, and on a personal basis, I happened to be president at that time. This is one of the reasons why I personally keep doing this every year. It's heartwarming. It's not something I'm going to ever hang on my wall. We pass it on from president to president. Something that will always be with us. The little girl that lost her life, she had came to the bike show years past. When I awarded this bear to the club at our bust-up party, is another tearjerker. Everybody was very emotional. It really hits home when you look around, and you know, every day we go to work, we ride our motorcycles. You don't think of little things. You don't think of the families that suffer. You don't think of the people that are battling cancer. You don't think of, you know, the parents, the families of the people that have problems. The money we give, it's a good thing we give the money, and it makes us feel good. But this brought it all into reality. So this is probably our most prized award we ever received. And once again, you know, oh, you have a question?
Go right ahead, please.
Oh, Jacoby, do you have a clubhouse in Osmond or where?
Okay, we got a question on the floor, and this gentleman will introduce himself again, please.
Rob Voss, Centerville, and sometimes Valders.
Sometimes.
At present time, we do not own a clubhouse. We consider the Smiling Moose the place where the Anthill Mob all started. The Smiling Moose, which used to be Goldie's, Elmer and Goldie's, it happens to be Brenda Kaufman's mom and dad that owned it. We always considered Goldie as the mother of the mob. She was the kind of person that no matter how much trouble we got in, no matter what we did when we were younger, she always accepted us. And for many of us, we grew up there. Brenda and her daughter is third generation, considering Goldie was the mother of the mob, Brenda's a mob member, Allison is third generation. As far as buying a clubhouse, we have kicked that idea around for quite a while. I guess with an organization as big as we have, it'd probably be one more really difficult argument to go through. There are possibilities in the future that we may own a clubhouse, but at the present time we do not, but we do consider the bar in Osmond our home.
Good. Thank you. We got a young lady who had her hand up for a question, perhaps. Go ahead.
I'm Alice Matthias.
Thank you, Alice.
I always kept in touch with the papers, wondering how they make so much money and they give so much away. I'm just wondering, when you have your charity dance and things, how many people do you get there, and what do you actually charge that you can make so much money?
We got a gentleman here who has been presented a question. He'll identify himself, please.
Scott Pankratz from Valders. At our bike show every year, we have a bike show which we presently show about 80 motorcycles and have a couple vendors also. All of these people and with the motorcycles and vendor spots, they pay an entry fee to get into the bike show. Also, we have many people come through the bike show. I think we've had as much as 1,000 people a day come through and pay like $3 to come through and look at all the bikes. Also, on the Saturday night of the bike show, we have a dance, typically having two bands playing for about 5 hours, and we charge like $5 in advance and $7 at the door for that. So we usually put about 1,500 to 1,600 people in the Ice Center in Manitowoc. So that's like our major moneymaker right there. Also selling the beer and the food and everything like that. And the bike raffle also, which we recently, for the last several years, have raffled off a 2010 or 9 or 8 street glide, which we sell for $5 a piece, and another way to generate money. So that's where most of the proceeds come from. And then, as Jim stated earlier, like with our charity rides, stuff like that, we get pledges or the entry fees to ride on our charity rides. So that's where we raise the money.
Very good, thank you. You got a gentleman here who's been going to provide some information. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, again, my name is Scott Pankratz from Valders. Being the current president of the mob, I'll just fill you in a little bit on why I joined the mob and my current situation. It was about 19 years ago, a buddy of mine who was a member of the mob pulled up next to me on Highway C and J out by Valders, and he was kind of pestering me for several years that he wanted me to become a member because he thought I would really fit in with the group. And finally one day he pulled up next to me and he says, "Come on, you got to come check us out," you know. And I finally agreed. Being a couple of years out of the military, he was very high strung about military people. Jim Bonney, a lot of respect for him and myself and other members like that. So he really wanted me to be a member of this club. So I checked it out and I came to a meeting and became a prospect. Hung around for about 6 months helping out with the charity events and stuff like that, having a great time, you know, just kind of hanging with the people. And then it was like a couple of years, I became a member. A couple of years went by, you know, and we're doing our charity things, and all of a sudden we start touring places where we're giving money to, and all the good things that you do, giving the money away and stuff like that, it's all great, but you really don't get the full effect until you actually tour some of the places like the Marco services or Big Brothers Big Sisters, going out to some of the events where Special Olympics play. We're invited every year to hand out ribbons for the Special Olympics of Manitowoc, and I'll tell you what, that is one of the greatest feelings anybody I think could have. These Special Olympians, they come up, they take their ribbon, and they give you a big hug, and it makes you just feel so warm and so special, you know, because they appreciate it. And that's why you feel, once you start giving the money away and you start seeing where the money goes and who it's helping, it really tends to make a great difference in my life, and I think in everybody's lives here, because it just makes you feel so warm inside. And I do consider every one of these members here to be my extended family. I love every single one of them dearly, and I'll tell you, I'd do anything for them, and I know they would do the same for me. So I want to thank all of you today for being a part of my life.
Thank you. We got a gentleman here, and we appreciate him coming, and he'd like to introduce himself and where he's from, please.
Hello, my name is Ty Andrus, and I'm from Kiel, Wisconsin.
Okay. And how long you been with this group?
Just about 3 months right now.
Oh, okay, another rookie, huh? Well, they appreciate you being there too. Thank you. Okay, we got a gentleman. I guess he'll continue and go introduce himself again.
Scott Pankratz from Valders. As Tom had stated earlier and Jim stated earlier about the amount of money given away at our first bike show, which was, I think was $140 or $160, whatever it was, which was actual profit. Throughout the years, it's climbed, and I think it went up to, you know, 5,000 and 6,000 and 10,000. The charity rides started bumping up from 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 up to 8,000, 9,000. This last Saturday, a week ago Saturday, a group of us got together and we rode down to Sharon S. Richardson Hospice in Sheboygan Falls. Some of you may have seen it in the Sheboygan Press. We donated them $15,000 from our bike show in April. After that, a group of us on the same day took a ride back to Manitowoc, and we presented Special Olympics of Manitowoc, the Special Olympics of Manitowoc, a check for $15,000 also. Those are the proceeds from our bike show in April. That's how much money we raised by getting people to come in and enjoy the music, buy the beer, the food, look at the nice bikes. Currently, the Antell Mob, I think we're getting pretty close to about $800,000. I don't have an exact amount, but I'm pretty positive that that's pretty close to where we're at to date as far as charitable donations, mostly staying right in Manitowoc or the surrounding area. So again, that would not be possible without contributions from local businesses, the community, everybody who comes and checks us out. So I'd like to thank them also. It's been a great ride. Hopefully we can continue doing this for many, many, many years.
Thank you. We had a young lady who'd like to ask a question. She raised her hand and she'll identify herself.
I'm Kathy Sixel, and do you ever have competition like who has the best bike, or you know, or do you all want a certain brand or something like that?
Okay, we got a question on the floor pertaining to preference of equipment. Go right ahead, please.
Rob Voss, formerly Centerville, and I'm not going to live in Bell anymore. As far as a competition within our club, it's I wouldn't say a competition, but everybody likes to polish their bike and make sure they're shiny so that, you know, everybody's kind of envy of each other. Majority of us do ride Harley Davidsons. I'd have to say it's probably about a 95%.
Really?
Some of us have multiple bikes. Throughout the years, we have members that collect everything from 1940s to up to present day motorcycles. The show itself, the competition for the bikes, are judged by judges that we pay. So we have nothing to do with who wins. So we're completely out of that because a lot of our members do show their bikes. So it wouldn't be fair for us to judge our own bike show. So we actually hire people to do that. Personally, I think my bike's the best, but.
And which kind do you have?
I have a Harley Davidson. And my wife has one too.
Oh,
Well, actually, yes, I have two. One thing I'd like to say tonight too before we end this, we'd like to thank you, the Antell Mob, everybody sitting up here, all our club members who are not here tonight, for showing interest in our group. This is another way that we can give back to the community, and we try to get you to understand that we're not a bunch of bad people. So if you see us on the street, don't be afraid to walk up and ask us a question. We'd be glad to answer it. And we hope that you go home tonight with a better understanding of all our charity work. And we could not do this without the generous support from people like you sitting right in this room. So next time you're at the fair, or if you want to come out to the bike show, if you want to, you know, just visit us anytime. Our charity rides, we're a very friendly organization. We really, really love to have the public come to our events, even if you don't ride. I've had people come up to the bike show that have never rode a motorcycle before, and they're just amazed by the amount of support, the amount of time that people put into shining their bikes. On our 25th anniversary show, we had one separate building dedicated to antique motorcycles, and it was great. We had a lot of publicity on that. We had a lot of people that just came just to see that, and a lot of old timers that haven't rode, like the picture I showed you of my grandpa, that haven't rode since, you know, back in the early, you know, 1900s, and they look around and say, oh, I used to have a 1945 just like that. You know, a lot of them don't ride anymore because they're not physically able to. And that's what we do this for, is our community. And every one of you are part of our community, and we're proud to be alongside you, and we'll stand next to you any chance we get. So keep that in mind, and hopefully tonight we enlightened you a little bit. The speakers here, I'd like to thank all of them. I had to do the mic part because I like to talk a lot, but just ask my wife. And Charlie had asked us to do it. I've known Charlie for many, many years. I used to rent a house from him, but we won't go back that far. A lot of us here have connections in history to the Centerville area. Our parents, our grandparents. I basically, like I said many times, grew up in Centerville. I came to Cleveland many times. I was actually, I'd say I'd have to be raised in the Cleveland area. So I'm very familiar with a lot of names that I heard when everybody introduced themselves, and I hopefully let you know a little bit more about myself and each one of their speakers, so that you can go home tonight and take this knowledge with you and tell your friends that you met some of the Anthill Mob members, and we'll tell our friends that we met some very fine people tonight. So once again, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a young lady here who would like to speak a little bit, and she'd like to identify herself and where she's from too, by the way.
I'm Robin Kaufman. I live in the Pigeon Lake area, and I was asked to talk about Project Chopper. We became involved in that 2 years ago, I believe. It's run through the Manitowoc County Economic Development and
Robin, can you put the mic closer?
Manitowoc County.
There,
Oh yeah.
there we go.
Manitowoc County Chamber. It's a year-long thing through those organizations. They work with the schools. It's all voluntary with the area Manitowoc County schools. I think, who's been participating? Lincoln, there's 2 Lincolns teams. Mishicot, Valders, those are the area schools that have participated. They build and they work on these bikes. OLTC sponsors a team.
Okay.
They work on these bikes all year long during the school year, and at the end of April, middle of April, they have to have everything done.
Okay.
The team from the Economic Development Center and the Chamber come in and they go to the schools, they get a pizza party at the end, they get judged by criteria they have, and then the whole ending of it is they get to come to the bike show and they display their bike there.
Okay.
So Friday night is a big event for them. They come, there's a big meal, all the parents and their family get to come in, and then at the end of all their presentations about how they worked or didn't work together, then at the end they all get to start their bikes, which is exciting, and it's loud, and you know, they're all nervous because it may start, it may not start. It's a question because they can't, you know, you never know once you get it there. So then they get to bring it over to the bike show, and they get to display it for the 2 days. And during that, we give them a trophy for best overall, I believe is what it's called. And then we give that award out then Sunday afternoon to them. So they're very excited about that and very happy. And they learn a lot about teamwork,
Sure.
you know, which is hard for some of the kids in high school. They've not either been exposed to it or whatever, but it's pretty exciting.
Good.
The bikes are going to be at the fair this year.
And the bikes are going to be at the fair this year.
Okay.
Where are they going to be at the fair?
In the exhibition building.
They're going to be in the exhibition building at the Manitowoc County Fair.
Good.
Come and check it out.
If I may ask, did you indicate whose idea this was? Was it a one-person idea, or that to have these youngsters work on that type of project?
I believe through the Economic Development Center of the Chamber of Manitowoc County, there's a grant from the state of Wisconsin, and it's all about manufacturing.
Oh.
Wisconsin, I can't recall the name, but it's a grant that is given by the state. It was either a 3-year grant for all about manufacturing, so the students learn about how it is they can
Sure.
work together, what it's all about if they want to go on to that as a career. And then I think 1 more year they're going to be working on motorcycles, and then they reapply for a grant, and they can work on other things. It doesn't have to be motorcycles,
Okay.
but that's how it all started.
Thank you. We got a gentleman here who would like to speak to the crowd. Go right ahead, please.
John Wiegand, Town of Centerville. First of all, I would like to mention I am one of the caretakers of the Saxon Cemetery, which is South Union Road, Town of Centerville. And your group comes up there every Sunday of Memorial Day weekend as part of your memorial ride. We can see you from at home. We always watch for you, and we can hear you. That's fine. I'd like to just thank you for doing that, and I would mention that we never see any debris, any paper, anything, no bottles, no nothing. It's just as good when you leave as when you came, so we appreciate that. And thank you for coming.
Would you like to maybe sign us off for the evening?
Kathy Sixel, and I would like to thank the Anthill Mob for the most enlightening educational presentation. It was absolutely wonderful. You have achieved many, many goals, and it's just wonderful what you're doing. The DVD of this evening will be in the library at LTC, so anytime you want to check it out, we will also make 1 DVD for you, so you can show it at your meeting so the other people can see it. And another thing, I'm so happy, Robert used to be my neighbor. And he used to be a friend of my son Tom's, right? You graduated together. Tom Hogan also was my neighbor. So it's so nice to see you guys again. Judy is my mailman, and Robin used to line up the programs. We used to work together for the room and used to book the room for me. Our next meeting is going to be on the Wunsch Enterprise. They used to have a hatchery, they have a farm. It is near Whistling Straits Golf Course. And right now they have opened a bed and breakfast, and they are going to come and tell us about that. If you want to be on the list for a card, please give your name to me or give it to Judy, and she can give it to me too. Did everybody hand in their mission slips? Because we need those. Okay, I'm going to sign off with that. And one other thing, Paul Jacoby and Donald Schneider and a few of us want to do a walk. Our walk is going to be in Fisher Creek. There used to be, it was called the DeRocher House. Do you remember that, Robert? Well, we want to find that, and we are trying to get the history on that area. So that'll be exciting too, and we'll do that as soon as the mosquitoes are.
After first front, then.
Yeah, right. So, okay, again, Kathy Simpson.
I'm Charlie Bauer from Newton.
Okay. I'd like to also have you add how many years you are in the club, okay?
Scott Pankratz from Valders, current president and 18-year member.
Okay, thank you.
Robin Kaufman from Pigeon Lake, and 25 years.
Very good.
Tom Hogan from Osmond, 33 years.
Jim Bonney from Osmond, 34 years.
Rob Voss, formerly Centerville, Valders, 32 years.
Very good, thank you.
John Kaufman, grew up in Osmond, lived in Kiel area, 40 years.
Wow, great.
Allison Kaufman from Kiel, and I've been an official member for 2 months.
Okay, thank you.
Brenda Kaufman, secretary of the Anthem Mob. Excuse me. Been in the club for 32 years.
Thank you.
Ty Andrus, Kiel, Wisconsin, 3-month prospect.
Okay, I'll continue the back row there, please.
Perry Wendel from Two Rivers, been a member for 5 years.
Okay, great.
Jesse Lipke, Manitowoc, prospect.
Thank you. And we'll get back to this lady. Go right ahead, please.
Hi, Mary Bondi, Osmond. My dad was Marvin Miller, chairman of Town of Centerville, and I've been a member for, how long have you? 34 years. And I'm the treasurer.
Thank you.
Chad Westphal from Valders, a member for 3 years.
Okay, good.
Linda Koenig from Cleveland,
Thank you.
35.
Okay, very good.
Stacy Vogel, daughter of Linda, past deceased member, and my mother, Linda Koenig.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy Hansen, School Hill, 36 years.
All good.
Judy Voss Valders, 28 years.
Wow, great. Pass that on to this young lady.
Irene Dine. No years.
No years.
George Mathias.
Very good.
Alice Mathias, 0.
0.
Jeanette Stevens,
St.
Agents.
Thank you.
Lisa Elfson, Newton.
Good.
Marie Rosenbauer, Newton.
Okay.
Cheryl Bauer, Town of Newton.
Okay, thank you.
Joanne Mortimer, Chilton.
Thank you. And, oh, there
Don
it is.
Schneider, Lewis Burns.
Thank you, Don.
Mary Ann Thompson, Sheboygan.
Thank you.
Gary Leonard, Town of Sheboygan.
Thank you.
Norman Amos, Cleveland. Alice Waldo from Manitowoc.
Thank you.
Rick Firestorff, Mimi.
Very good.
Edith Woodsey, Cleveland.
Thank you.
Audrey Ertl, St. Nazians.
Thank you.
Elma Vogel, Cleveland.
Thank you.
Marie Pipper, Cleveland. I think I'll stick to my bicycle.
You will. I bet it's a 3-wheeler too.
No, a 2-wheeler.
It is. Oh.
Frederick Jacoby, Manitowoc.
Okay. Okay, Paul.
Paul Jacoby, Cleveland.
Okay, I'm going to have you pass that microphone back one more time, please.
Sherrick Goodnow, Sheboygan.
Thank you.
Kenny Hawkins, Sheboygan.
Good.
John Wiegand, Centerville.
Good.
Denise Stroh, New Ulm, Minnesota.
Thank you.
Mike Drill, Newell, Minnesota.
Thank you.
I think we oughta, I gotta share one little thing up here, and then we're gonna run out of time, but this Robert Voss guy here, you might not know it or not, but he actually played Santa Claus for my 2 kids.
And I was skinny then.
I think we ought to give this group a wonderful hand here for the wonderful charity work they do, and thank you so much.
Jerry, you want to do one more thing for him?
Sure. Okay, go right ahead, please.
Kathy Sixel. And another thing I was going to mention is I went to school for 8 years with Chad Westfall's father. So that's pretty exciting. You're Steintal. So welcome, Chad.
And from the videographer, Jerry O'Neill, again, you people who are part of this wonderful group have the biggest hearts I've ever seen or heard. Wonderful job, fellas. Keep it going.
Recess!
She just worried about the election. Oh God, that woman, she cracks me up.